I have sort of an odd little story I want to tell this morning, and it involves where I used to live. And this is the drive and the uh, front yard of where I used to live. See, there is. See if I can do this. Here, there's a driveway and two gate posts. One gate post. Second gate post is kind of hard to see because it's covered with trumpet vine from here up, but it's just about the same height. I think it's just a tiny bit shorter. And then another post here, and this was attached at the bottom to kind of hold it up. And there's the same thing on the other side, and garden on both sides. I had 100 feet between the street and my house, so I had garden there. So here's another picture showing it a little closer and a little from the other side. And so one day I was out here tending this garden, and I heard a twang, a metal twang. It wasn't a high-pitched twang, it wasn't a low-pitched twang, it was a medium-pitched metal twang, like you get if you pluck a metal wire. And almost simultaneously, right about over here, a bird flopped down. And I went over to it, and it was dead. It apparently broke its neck, hitting something, except that there's nothing up there for it to have hit. There's a wire here, but that's power line, it's insulated, and it wouldn't have gone twang. And, you know, it has some slack in it. This was a twang, like a really stretched, taut wire was plucked, was with some force. And so that's the weird thing, you know, where did this bird come from? How did it wind up apparently hitting a wire that wasn't there and landing dead right behind me? So I thought that was an interesting little weird story. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to say that mum plant right there is this one right here. That was in bloom, that was blooming a little more in that picture. And that is one plant. That is a yardstick. So that is a huge plant. And people didn't believe me that was one plant, but it really was. That was some fertile ground there, I guess. So I like odd stories. And gosh, when I was a kid, there were Ripley's Believe It or Not things in the newspaper. And I don't remember now if they were daily or weekly or how they went. But then I found that there were actually paperback books of Ripley's Believe It or Not. And I bought several of those for myself. I don't think I have those anymore. Mouse got into my bookshelf and ruined a lot of my books back when I lived in that other place that I just showed pictures of. It was out in the country, and wild creatures were difficult to keep out. So then I found some more books. And these are more things I got more recently, although they weren't written that recently. Charles Fort. Now that's it's an unfortunate title, I think, but you know the author chose it. It's not about things being damned. It's about odd occurrences like fish and birds and things falling from the sky. And he just calls them damned because they are not permitted into science. So they have been damned by science, basically. And here's another one by a good and well-known author, Mysterious America, Loren Coleman. And he's kind of into Sasquatch and things like that, not so much fish falling from the sky, but he has some interesting stories. And then if you want things that are scientific, archaeological, rather than birds and fish falling from the sky. This weighs about 1.5 tons. This is Forbidden Archaeology. Excuse me. And this came out quite a few years ago now, and then they put out a shorter version But I actually bought the uncondensed, huge, this thick version and read the entire thing. So it's good. It's interesting. And you don't have to believe all this stuff to enjoy it. I read it with kind of an open mind since I've seen some odd things happen. And, if 1% of the things that it says in there actually happened, it's interesting. So that's my little weirdness of the day. Have fun.